What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/EntitledParents. This story's called, "My Father Was an Entitled Dad and Lied About Me and My Mother." My biological father, which is all he has ever been for me, and my mother, who has been a great single mother without entitlement about this, divorced when I was about 10 years old. Now, the things my dad did will be summarized in a chronological order. My dad had been cheating on my mother numerous times with multiple women. Even though I was like 7 or 8 years old, even I noticed something was up, as I would notice my father coming home with the smell of perfume, while my mother never used perfume. She is allergic, and so am I. And I actually caught my father more than once in my parents' bed with another woman, whenever I would come home from school early. Not only that, the entire neighborhood knew this, and of course my mother heard the rumors and confronted him more than once. Eventually, she grew tired of arguing every evening. My dad would often get a tad aggressive and throw things around while angry at her when she dared to show him proof of his cheating on her, and decided to divorce him. Now, after this divorce, my dad ended up starting to spread the rumors that my mother is the one who cheated on him. He even went as far as telling people he isn't sure my siblings and I are actually his children. My father was obviously getting alcoholic. My mother was able to keep it down by never buying him alcohol, though he would end up spending money for groceries on alcohol for him. But after the divorce and he had moved out, his alcoholism started to get clearer and clearer to us, as he would get really grumpy when he couldn't start his day with some Bacardi Cola. My father started spreading more lies than the previous one about my mother, and some people ended up calling our version of CPS on her due to the insane stuff that he claimed. My mother got very exasperated with the CPS agents showing up every once in a while, only to have them verify none of what was being claimed was true. Eventually, my mother had been put on a list to not check out, as it was pretty clear people called for false reasons. Some of these lies were forced prostitution, drug use, physical mistreatment, and mental mistreatment. There are more, but I'm having a hard time finding the English terms for them and figured these paint the picture enough. My father would keep on getting a new girlfriend, move in with her for a while, and when he got tired of her, he would dump her, move out, taking as much of her stuff as he can, and start telling people that he did so much for her, and then she just threw him out like a used piece of gum. Due to this happening over and over again, we, my siblings and I, had a hard time believing him. Eventually, me and my younger brother ended up keeping contact with one of the more recent girlfriends to find out the truth. The girlfriend lost a lot of things due to him going behind her back and selling some of her valuable collectible antiques, which for her had been extra valuable as she had inherited those from her grandmother. He had to pay for her BS and in total lost around 100,000 euro from having housed him for 3 years. Sadly, she had no physical proof of anything, so she couldn't go to court for it. Not even small claims court would be able to help her. This has been over 10 years ago by now, so no need to start giving advice for her. Even if she ends up realizing she can sue him, it is too late by now anyways. Around the same time, 10 years ago, I had an argument with him on a regular basis. My siblings and I had been told that we would have to visit him every 2 weeks on the weekend and half of the holidays. We did that and none of us enjoyed it. We would always be reprimanded for BS reasons, and he especially disliked me because I look, behave, and talk a lot like my mother. I am kinda proud of that, to be honest. And my father started doing to me what he did to my mother, and that is spreading lies. I figured out from talking to some of my dad's friends that he would tell everyone I was a drug dealer in school, I was a prostitute, and so on. If these things are true, where is all my money, Dad? Couldn't help insert this little joke. A few times already, I had been expressing my feelings about never wanting to visit him again. It isn't fun when you find out that your own father spreads these kinds of lies about you. Now, when I turned 14, sorry this had to be added slightly out of order this way, but it was while he was with previously mentioned girlfriend, I had asked people not to give me gifts for said birthday, but instead a bit of money, as I was saving up for a new phone. Smartphones didn't exist yet, new phones could actually be as cheap as only 50 euro. So my grandparents gave me 20 euros, one of my grandparents' friends gave me 5 euros, and another gave me a euro as well, while I had 10 euros still in my wallet, which was that month's allowance. I had kept for this. So, in total, I had around 40 euros in my wallet when I went to visit my father for the weekend, planning on buying a phone later that week with my mother, who would add another 10 euros for my birthday. We were living financially not all too great, as my mother had gotten into some medical issues due to the job she used to have and had been going to an adult education in order to get another job that she could do with her permanently damaged back. So we temporarily lived off of a very small financial support from the state and the alimony, which was minimal minimum as possible. We'll say more about that later. As my father, in girlfriend's place, he knew how much I had gotten, and suddenly the day I arrived, his girlfriend was missing a whopping 40 euros out of her wallet, and my father claimed to have seen me hold said wallet. I told them that the money that I had was my birthday money I had gotten, and to call grandma, she would confirm. My father claimed he had called her and that grandma had denied this to be true, so I ended up throwing my wallet at his face and told him to choke on it. He did not like me doing so, took the money and threw my now empty wallet back at me. I packed up and went home to my mother that day. It was the actual day of my birthday back then, by the way, and she got so mad at him she used some of her savings to buy me a new phone that same day. She ended up buying me a 60-euro phone, which had been one of my favorite phones I had before my first smartphone. Not long after I turned 16, not long before he broke up with previously mentioned girlfriend, I had yet another argument with him. He tried to convince me that it is perfectly normal for him to go through my stuff every day, including reading my diary. I told him the definition of privacy and told him that nowhere in that definition it says that family is excluded from that. The argument ended up getting so heated I started confronting him with everything I had found out about his lies, telling him off and called him names for making people think awful things about me. I yelled at him that because of him I couldn't enjoy walking his girlfriend's dogs because I had more than one creepy old guy asking what my prices are for services. He yelled at me, "I am your father, you have to respect me," upon which I yelled, "Respect is something you have to earn, not something you can force." After this, he threw me out, I went back home to my mother, and never visited him again. Later, I found out that my father had allowed a friend of his to inappropriately touch my little sister, and even skewed my autistic little brother's views on brother-sisterly love, which made things almost go really bad, if it wasn't for my mother to find out and do something about it. My brother considered getting all three of us to no longer visit him, but my brother and sister told her they will keep visiting in order to keep family drama down, as they knew that my grandparents would tell everyone that my mother's keeping their poor son from seeing his own kids, etc. They had already been telling everyone that my mother turned me against my father. A few years went past and my mother started to notice that my father no longer paid his alimony. Upon the divorce, my mother had chosen to only ask the minimum alimony, which was just for us, the kids, and nothing for herself. She also didn't get said alimony indexed, something that should happen every 4 years, and increase how much he had to pay, as she didn't want to milk him out. So for us, the 3 kids, all he had to pay for years by then was around 330 euros a month, aka 110 euro a kid per month. He suddenly stopped paying, and when my mother contacted him about it, he immediately went off at her, telling her that she is a leech and that she just wants to see him in trouble by squeezing him dry. Note, by this time he had already paid nothing for 6 months. So my mother grew tired of it and got in contact with the government institute, especially for these things, and showed them all the paperwork and told them her story. They told her that my father should be lucky he only had to pay this little and it never got indexed, but his behavior was not acceptable. When this institute contacted him, he still refused to pay a thing, so it ended up in small claims court, which my mother won without a sweat. He had to pay what he hadn't paid, and the indexing was effective immediately too. He started telling all his friends and family that my mother was a harpy who wanted to get all his money from him, but my brother and sister knew the truth and shut him down with it. They both had grown tired of his behavior as well. To top it off, a bit before this, he had gotten married to his no idea how many-ist girlfriend, and after the small claims court, he divorced her. They got married for a whopping whole month, and he blamed my mother, squeezing him dry, for the reason of their divorce. Something my siblings and I called BS, as divorcing is more expensive than marrying. Now, ever since I stopped visiting him when I turned 16, I haven't talked to him either, unless it was when I dropped off my siblings on the days he couldn't come pick them up, which only happened the first 2 years, as after that my siblings were able to just go by themselves. 10 years later, I am 26 now, he suddenly started getting in contact with me again. He found out that I had moved out of my mother's place, I had been struggling financially due to having lost my job not long after moving out, I have a new and great job now, and he tried to play the concerned father who would be there for me all of a sudden. According to my siblings, his current girlfriend made him get in contact with me in order to mend the bond. According to them, he has changed, but not not much, thanks to her too. I guess he finally sorta grew up, but is still stuck with certain ways of his. He still spreads lies about my mother, for example, something my siblings confirmed. I am giving him a chance now, a chance to prove that he can be an actual father and can be reasonable, though at the same time, I need to make sure to keep enough distance for now. Recently, his girlfriend invited me over to have a surprise birthday party for my father. My siblings would be there too, and I decided, why not? It was an opportune way for me to try and get to know this new girlfriend of his, and get a bit of reading on how he behaves. He drank less alcohol now, he wouldn't get as aggressive anymore when things don't go his way, and I was starting to think he had actually changed, until I started finding out the things he likes to say about my mother to his girlfriend. He told his girlfriend that everything which went wrong with his life was my mother's fault, or as he likes to call her, his harpy ex, and even convinced his girlfriend that I was struggling at that point because my mother refuses to help me. My mother is an angel. She has been helping me a lot and bought me groceries when I couldn't feed myself. She cannot do too much because she still has my sister and my stepdad to feed as well, and her current job doesn't make her rich AF either. So for now, I am still not convinced enough about my father's change to let him back into my life. The biggest part of his entitlement, in my opinion, was the fact that through all this, he demanded for us, my siblings and I, to respect him because he is our father. I mentioned so once in the part where I am 16, but this was a fact through the entire time, and he still does demand, at least from my siblings, for respect that he does not earn. Wow, well, that's a horrible father for you, but you gotta admire the emotional maturity that it must have taken to give a person like that another chance. That is insanely impressive and something that should be praised because it must have been really hard. But that guy obviously has some major underlying mental health issues or something like that. Some sort of, I don't know, horrible relationship with someone in his life at a young age that causes him to, This story's called, Today I Fudged Up by telling my dad about the Karen meme. My family loves to overshare. This lack of filter sometimes has the tendency to get people into trouble because not all the information is provided, even when it's meant harmlessly. My parents are a bit older, prime, okay boomer age. I was talking to my dad the other day on the phone because his birthday dinner was a few days later. I asked him how mom was doing and he goes on to tell me a story of how my mom and aunt, Karen, were at the store and the cashier made a mistake. My aunt went off on the cashier and asked to see the manager. My mom was mortified and tried to calm her down, but she wasn't having it. I then mentioned to my dad, "That's such a Karen thing." He goes on to say, "Yeah, your aunt does that a lot." I tell him, that's the funny part. The Karen meme is a real thing. It's when an entitled, typically white, woman gets angry at the smallest mistake and asks for the manager. My dad found this hilarious and I explain in more detail. I send him a few links to sites explaining it online. He finds all of this hilarious and she even has the Karen hairstyle. This sends him down the Google Images rabbit hole, and the next few days he sends me random memes of Karens doing Karen stuff, adding, "Your aunt did this last week," or "I think this one's about your aunt." This leads up to his birthday dinner with extended family. My dad's birthday dinner is going well. Everyone is having a good time, good food and drinks, etc. Suddenly, my aunt, sitting a few seats down from me, leans forward and loudly shouts down the table, "Hey!" My name. "What's this whole thing about making a meme about me?" I respond, "Huh?" She then tells me my dad sent her all these memes about things she's done. He didn't give her the context that it's a generic meme from the internet and what it's about. Now my aunt thinks I made all these memes about her real life events. At this point, the entire family thinks I created this meme on the internet about my aunt's antics in public. There is a back and forth discussion about it being really rude of me. She's pulling a Karen and starts chewing me out. Meanwhile, I am looking at my dad like, "What the? Back me up here." My dad finally steps in to say this is just a random viral internet thing and that I didn't make these up behind my aunt's back. Even after explaining, she's a bit irritated. It is apparent that she is embarrassed that she is so much like a Karen and couldn't tell the difference between the stories online and her own encounters. Oh man, that is a good freaking story, man. I hope y'all got a kick out of that because I did. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.